Hello, everyone. Good to see you guys. My name is Donnella. I am a therapist here. I am going to be running a teen DBT group. So DBT stands for Dialectical Behavior Therapy. The group is going to be on Tuesdays from 6 to 7:30, and it's for teenagers ages 13 to 17. So if any of you know any teenagers that might be interested, or if you have teens yourself, we'd love to have you guys. DBT, or Dialectical Behavior Therapy, is a form of CBT that emphasizes the dialectics of both acceptance and change. Dialectics focuses on learning the truth through various perspectives. So we use terms like and instead of either or. We really want to see that we can experience two things at the same time, and that's okay. So we can be both happy and sad. I guess you can think of it like when you go to a funeral, for example, and you see people that are, kind of moseying around and they're smiling, they're laughing, even though it's a sad experience, they're also still remembering the happy times and maybe reminiscing on their time that they were able to spend with the person that they loved. So they're experiencing both the emotions at the same time. I really like this quote too. Today will be what it is, I will be who I am, and there will be beauty in both. So again, emphasizing that we can both accept and love who we are and also be motivated for change. DBT benefits everyone, not just teenagers, but it is particularly helpful for teenagers. So DBT was originally created by a psychologist named Marsha Linehan. She was focusing on women with borderline personality disorder that were suffering from suicidality. And so she wanted to be able to help these women with coping with those really intense self-harm behaviors or suicide ideations. But what we've learned through research is that it actually applies to help everyone. I don't think I see any teenagers in this room, but I think that all of us have been teenagers before, so we all have direct experience here. Being a human being in general is hard. Specifically, teenagers have very, I would say, unique differences in the challenges that they experience as they're going through life. They are sometimes dealing with anxiety and depression. They are dealing with the stressors of school and home balance. Sometimes they have jobs. They have responsibilities as older siblings. They're experiencing body changes, low self-esteem, bullying, and now with the rise of social media, cyberbullying, moving or family changes. I'm sure you guys can think of maybe a million other things that you would add to this list, but they have, again, unique challenges that DBT would be beneficial for in helping them cope. So individual therapy for teens, I do work with teens on an individual level, and therapy just in general is going to be helpful for them. But specifically group therapy, we wanted to be able to offer an additional support for teenagers. We want to give them kind of the sense of community and that they're not alone, which is, I think, a big thing for teenagers. They are trying to learn about who they are, who they want to become, and then also dealing with, the wanting to be autonomous, but also having to live under their parents' or caregivers' roofs and rules. That's really, really challenging. And so we want to create an environment where we can have them kind of just be able to open up and share their experiences and just recognize that they're not alone in that. So my role as the teen group facilitator is to offer a safe place. There are limits to confidentiality, so it is designed specifically for teenagers, so usually parents won't be present. But if there is any sort of concern as far as them engaging in self-harm behaviors or suicide ideations, they're putting themselves at risk or they are a risk to others, then I will definitely communicate that and do my best to just communicate with parents on just in general how they're doing. But I do want to provide them with a safe place where they don't feel like they can't open up about certain things that they don't feel comfortable sharing with their parents. So I want to provide a safe place for them. Also just a place to advocate for them and really what they're needing. I would provide them with unconditional positive regard. I am pretty new to DBT, but I connect really well with teenagers. I grew up in a really large family, and I have a ton of nieces and nephews that are in that teen age group. And I really just love spending time with them. I love hearing about what's going on in their lives. And again, just providing them that safe, comfortable place to open up and also have fun, because therapy doesn't have to be, this, we need to just focus on our anxiety and depression and all of the sad things, right? Like, it can be a fun process, and we can teach them to, lead fulfilling lives and have fun as they go. So some of the things that we will be learning in the Teen DBT group is emotional identification. This is a big one that I think benefits a lot of adults. I'm still learning about emotions. Have any of you guys seen that movie, Inside Out? Super cute movie, but I think that movie does a really good job of just explaining what emotions exist inside all of us. And that's the thing, is that every single human being experiences every single emotion on the spectrum. And so while we have different experiences, we're all connected in this way. And so again, just emphasizing to them that this is completely normal to have whatever emotions they're experiencing, and we can help them to understand what's happening in their bodies, why they're experiencing that emotion to begin with, and then help them to just accept that that is true for them, and then be motivated again to create the changes that they need in order to be able to cope. We also are going to be learning about the nervous system. There are 4 modules in DBT that I'll go over in just a moment. And then additionally, we go over Wise Mind. So Wise Mind, we look at both our emotional side of things and also our reasonable mind in things. And the idea is that we want to be able to use both of these together in order to make the best decisions for ourselves, in order to be able to regulate and navigate through life's challenges. Oftentimes what ends up happening is we operate in one or the other. It's good to know which one you tend to operate in, again, just in being mindful and aware. Emotional mind, again, just focuses on feelings. Wise mind is the combination of both reasonable mind and emotions, and then the reasonable mind, or logic and analytical mind, focuses on how we approach a situation intellectually. So down at the bottom of the sheet, when you guys have time, you can just go ahead and describe any experience you've had with any of these states of mind. So the 4 main DBT modules that we would be focusing on is mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotional regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. So mindfulness is the awareness of thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and behavioral urges. Being mindful, we are not placing judgment on our emotions, our behaviors, or our actions. We are just simply being an observer of what is happening, what is true for us right here, right now. And thus, we, by paying attention, are able to accept, and then we can move into intentionally changing our behaviors or our actions. So distress tolerance is being able to recognize that pain is unavoidable, right? No matter what, we're, like I said, going to experience all of the range of emotions. It doesn't matter if you try to avoid that emotion or that situation, like, pain is unavoidable. We're going to be angry in some situations. We're going to be sad in some situations. So those uncomfortable emotions, and how well we do with those is how we kind of gauge our distress tolerance, so our threshold for those negative emotions. So instead of, again, ignoring or avoiding those natural emotions, distress tolerance just assists in accepting and tolerating distress. So one activity that, or skill that we would learn in distress tolerance is called STOP. So the acronym STOP, actually the S stands for stop, literally what you're doing, physically stop. You take a step back, you observe both what your surroundings are and what you're experiencing, and then you proceed mindfully. So it's just giving you a break to kind of take a step back and really figure out what's happening in the situation before you make the next move. The next pillar is emotional regulation. So in this pillar, we focus on, so the last two pillars, mindfulness and distress tolerance, that just focuses on the acceptance piece of things. The next two pillars, emotional regulation and interpersonal effectiveness, focuses on the change in things. So here we would actually be managing our feelings in order to be able to cope with the situation better and change our problematic situations. So again, it's important to be able to identify what those behaviors and emotions are, and thus we're able to make those adjustments to change the undesired outcomes or patterns. One skill in emotional regulation is to do the opposite action. So here you would just identify the emotion that you would like to change, and then identify the action urge associated with the emotion, and then engage in the opposite of the urge in order to make a change. And then the last pillar, and arguably one of the most important ones, is interpersonal effectiveness. We are built for human connection. We need to have healthy relationships in our lives, and this is particularly true, again, for teenagers who are experiencing a lot of sadness, grief, and loneliness in what they're going through. They don't feel normal. They don't feel like they have an advocate a lot of the times, just somebody on their side, or that anybody really understands them. And so we want to be able to promote establishing and maintaining healthy relationships, the difference between requesting wants and needs, and then being able to set and implement boundaries when necessary. So I have a quick little activity. So this statement up here, these socks smell like goat cheese. So this is not emotionally charged at all, but I have a feeling wheel, and these are every single one of the emotions that all of us have experienced at some point in our lives. So do I have any volunteers? So just spin the wheel, and then whatever emotion you land on, you want to try and say that statement with this emotion.
Hopeful.
Okay, hopeful.
All right. These socks smell like goat cheese?
I love it. That was awesome. Do I have one more volunteer? One more.
Oh, rage.
Get it all out.
Oh, these socks smell like goat cheese.
Thank you. That was great. So validation, I heard, if any of you were present for Hillary's presentation, she was talking about validation. Validation is super important because it recognizes and normalizes someone's personal experiences and emotions as worthwhile and true. So we're not going to be able to move forward and even open up unless we feel validated in our experiences. Again, this is where we want to make sure that our teenagers and really anybody that we're trying to connect with feels validated in their experience and feels like they truly can be their genuine selves before they're able to make any changes at all. So a quote that I really like here is, "You've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. So try approving of yourself and see what happens." Again, this is the acceptance piece, right? Like, I love myself, and I love myself enough to be able to set boundaries and to communicate with others and what I'm needing and what's healthy for me. And so again, that's going to translate in our interpersonal relationships as well. If we love ourselves enough, then we are going to be able to have healthy relationships and cultivate those.